Battleground number 2. It's going to be Towers of Doom. This time Octalysis opting for first pick. Endemic is going to be the one bringing us here to Towers. So we'll see how the draft unfolds. We know Volskaya, we saw the Abathur ban. This is more of an Abathur map. So either team can pick that, especially with the way the drafts unfold. See if the same bans, the same style of bans continue.
If you're endemic and you're actually terrified of the cheese from Octalysis, picking any battleground where a Medivh Abathur rotation in your bans every single time is really smart. I don't think that's the absolute reason we see that map picked here, but it does cater to that mentality and thought process a little bit more here for endemic. I think it's a great map selection for them and something that I'm just excited to get in the game at this point, because if Endemic can keep up this shot calling and maybe stop that early game damage, it's going to be a close series.
It's wild because if you establish that type of lead on a map like Towers of Doom and all of a sudden you get a 4-man kill, you don't really normally end the game in the same fashion if you're that far behind in terms of metaphorically speaking the same way that Endemic was behind last game. Towers of Doom, whole different beast when it comes to how to end the game and when you can end the game, especially around the altars. So will be fun to watch.
Octalysis in the first pick position. Also something to talk about, J. Howell, over the last draft. Talked about it a little bit once it ended, but something I want to bring up going into this one is we did not get much deviation from Octalysis. We did not get any of those wild pickups from them. They played a little bit more standard, if you will. And I'm not going to lie, I sit here, especially after the result over the last game, even though they did have a big early win for a majority of it, pretty confidently in control, I'm still not convinced that that is a good or a bad or a good thing here for Octalysis.
Well, we see the ban on Sergeant Hammer. Maev will be banned out by Octalysis, not wanting to first pick that, not willing to give it up in the second pick slot. Will we get the Medivh ban again here from Endemic? It seems likely the way that all bans have gone against Octalysis lately after they're showing with those Medivh comps.
I've written it down, it's true. That's how it works. It's already here. There we go. What do you want me to write down next?
Deckard.
Got it.
Ooh, Yrel. Ooh.
I only got the D. I don't know how to. Diablo, first pick here for Octalysis. Not surprising.
Deckard Yrel is very appealing at this stage of the draft for a lot of teams on Towers of Doom.
Deckard Yrel would be pretty dope. Off-lane pressure, also having the mount at 7. This is one of the battlegrounds where you can gain a lot of value for that. Worried about the Muradin choke in the warrior choke a little bit there. Deckard, in fact, is going to get selected. Not committing in any direction, at least so far, though. Or we see for Octalysis here in the 2-3.
Genji is available.
Found him.
So this is pretty standard meta, is what we currently know. Yrel, Diablo diving in on top of a target. Genji coming in to just compound the issue. Pretty terrifying for the likes of a Deckard. Does have that 10 armor when he's near people, and that's pretty much 99% of the time.
Endemic rid of the white main. It's always an interesting choice on when we get the support choke committed to in the second half of the bans, and depending on what teams end up committing to it. Still something I'm trying to totally analyze and learn along with North America, but it's definitely not universal, which is the one thing I find so concerning there. Dahaka, pretty heads-up ban considering the Yrel not wanting to get out-globaled and out-macroed at the same time, especially if you have Genji on your team, and it removes a safe off-laner to be able to provide kill potential for the Genji.
Endemic, we need some damage. Phoenix, Raynor, all available. We know Michael Udall likes to play a Junkrat himself, but against this composition, maybe not as appealing. So we are going to get the Li Ming and the Phoenix. Of course, you do have the slows come in from Deckard that can amplify that salvo as well as Muradin.
It's a small tidbit I've noted recently when playing Li Ming on this battleground, but if somehow you make it to late game on Li Ming with Disintegrate was your heroic choice, the Archon power, we know that, you know, Infinite Archon is one of the best sieging in the tools in the game, but the split push, if you win a fight, you're almost always 7-capping. She can just split push and just drop it and just take bottom by herself, top by herself, mid, doesn't matter. Just the split push options out of that Li Ming adjustment. I don't know, it's a new epiphany I've had lately, and I know when talking about 20s and epiphany, you shouldn't be talking about Li Ming, probably Karazim, but I think it's a little humorous.
Hey. We need an off-laner, Blaze the standard. See if we get anything different here. from Cure.
I like the Leo. Or the Blaze. We'll get the more standard. I want the scary Ghost Man. Especially, I like it with the Uther pickup. Long sustained team fights, especially with the Deckard Phoenix sitting on the back end. Li Ming's not that bad of an Entomb kind of enabler. But I guess they're probably worried about the Dragon Blade all in with the Divine Shield. So bunker, that makes a bit of sense.
It is pretty appealing. I mean, a Dragon Blade D shield staring you right in front of the face. Fan did it, no support last night. Pretty wild. I mean, just bonkers.
It was actually a little gross.
But for this, obviously, we don't see a lot of Uther. It requires a lot of all-in compositions, dishing out the armor as well as the heals. But the one thing that we do have, especially when you add the Yrel on top of that, Yrel level 4, 35 armor. Uther obviously passing out some of his own when things dive in. There will be a lot of heroes that will be diving in directly. This is an armor composition. I mean, if you look at it, Raynor has armor at level 4, so he heals. He has 25 armor. We've got everything. Everybody's got armor. We've also got a game ready as it's ready for game number 2. We're going to see if Octalysis can put one in the win column after losing game number 1 here to Endemic.
And one thing, too, to point out here, when we normally see Uther in modern day, it's usually one specific character under one element that you plan to be Divine Shielding, and if you have to Divine Shield anything else, you're just like, well, you know, that's unoptimal, but it's okay. We can get the job done still. This is... Every hero on Octalysis composition is amazing Divine Shields targets. And the only person who's maybe a bad one, you would argue, could be Yrel. And all you're doing, the only reason it's bad is because she's got her own. It's just a waste of a cooldown. It'd be like, couldn't you use yours?
So what you're saying is maybe switch heroics if you're Yrel.
I don't know if I would go that far.
You know, probably unlikely, but we'll see how that plays out. Traded on that Genji, I can't tell you enough as I bring up this stat probably every time we see it available, which is, I feel, not that often. There's going to be some follow-up CC onto Goku there. They're going to turn it onto Beakid, who's trying to dwarf toss out. Swift strike through. Does get enough damage off of the deflect, as well as maybe a little extra poke in there from Prismat. So first blood right out of the gate here for Octalysis.
Yeah, it's a really small thing, too, that we saw on the back end there from Draded. But at the last second, after he goes in with the Swift Strike, didn't get the kill. The heals came out from the Deckard. But what you notice he did is he dropped the deflect, and then he moved forward aggressively to make sure he hits all 3 of the shurikens and secures the kill there. It probably would have been a kill either way, whether or not he actually used the Q or not. But it's just those kind of things that you see happen at this high-level play that is, you know, I feel like that deciphers the difference from your solo queue Genjis and your HGC Genjis.
Well, Beakid anchoring for now, Justin and team. Early Diablo does not mean early invades confidently. You can already see on the minimap Dreadnought Blaze was starting to come down. Yrel making her way down just in case it goes either way on this. You should see the Fire Stomp come out for Vision. You'll see that it's picked up there. You mentioned the triple shuriken hitting. We have seen a lot of people, especially against Phoenix and his large hitbox, go into that Shingun at level 13, so we'll keep an eye on that forward, and that is a very good counter towards the large hitbox of Phoenix.
If we got anybody get real wild and go with the 4, the bonus damage and stack it, be able to get the reset. I'm still a huge fan of that build. Even though I know why it's not meta. Hold up here. Prismat is gonna get locked down by the scroll ceiling. No reset available there for Draded. I don't think it's meta or anything, right? I understand why the build is what it is, but it's just for, you know, I don't feel like it's as bad for how little play it seems to end up getting.
I know there was a time where obviously it would come up on something like Battlefield of Eternity. I think the last person that I saw play that actually was Snitch. I'm trying to remember when it was. It might have been at mid-season Brawl, but it definitely has seen better days. I don't think it's bad by any means either. It's just obviously that strike of the heart, single target kill potential. You know, a lot of people went in there. But when you're on that dive potential, especially on those bigger hitboxes, it does make sense that you could get value stacking that up, especially pairing that with that 13, as you said. So maybe one day we'll see that play, but for now, strike at the heart. It's time for our first altar phase here in 20 seconds.
A little bit more melee of a build, though, coming out from Uther in this game. Definitely focusing on being in the battle with the rest of the squad. With that 12 seconds, posturing here for Endemic. They got the 3-man positioning. They're very much showing that they are interested on that bottom half. And Octalysis get a 5-man clear through mid, which allow them to have a huge rotational advantage towards the bottom half. Phoenix will be late. But Blaze Yrel start up the top left and right equally. Mirrod's going to be 4 shots back and forth here. And now it's all about bottom.
for Octalysis, as you said, Uther does not lend to the longer sustained team fight. So when Octalysis goes, Dreadnought, they go hard and they go fast. We'll see how fast that goes. Urel making her way down before Blaze gets here. Justin starting the channel, seeing if he can get locked in. Genji has to swift strike out not to get locked down and killed there.
And this is a huge moment for Endemic to try and be able to bully around there. Not able to zone off and get that delay is actually a major setback. If they could find a way to demand any resources out of Uther when it comes to the supporting, and then you just switch targets all in. That is one thing that Endemic consistently can do with this composition, as long as you have a reliable damage source like Phoenix. Just wait until you get Uther to commit to one, swap to the other, but Octalysis is too cheeky off that zone and able to get those shots to make it at least not a concern for now.
BKid continuing to try and step forward, just missed out on getting that stack on that baseline as we saw the mount up just a split second late. Prismac going in.
Oh, big
There's
impact.
the peppering down. Urel's already on the way down. That means Octalysis, they're wanting to fight. They hit level 7. We're going to see Octalysis come in. Blaze a little slow behind. There's going to be the jump in by Goku. We might have a fight on our hands unless Octalysis can finish this quickly. It's not going to be quick enough. It looks like it's time to fight as Justin goes in.
The jet propulsion doesn't connect though, so no stun comes through. Cure just barely out of range, and now Octalysis, they are going to have to get aggressive there and zone off some of those sappers. They pick up the sappers for themselves. Dansky doing his best to make sure that 2 of them do not gain value though.
That was a pixel off.
I mean,
for Cure.
That was so close, because you can't match Urel with the rotational advantage that she had, but surely once the initiation happened, if he opened with that jet propulsion and lands it on the backline, I can't help but feel like that might have been a different skirmish there.
Oh, nice knockback there, because Urel is top, and that could have been an invade. BKid taking some damage. Swift strike going in. There's going to be the deep leg, making sure nobody takes the damage. That's going to be a kill at a very inopportune time, because we're only 5 seconds away from the altar. Cure, he's trying to walk away. The slows are going to be there. Justin not able to get any type of engagement, so Octalysis, this should be a free channel.
It should be a free channel, and with the victory over the first triple Alta phase, that's only going to further the advancement of the HP control here for Octalysis with a total of 8-shot advantage now at this point in time. Sappers going to get escorted in, get a little bit extra damage here, and once again we find ourselves at a level lead, 3-10 in favor of Octalysis.
Seems familiar, not the same type of control when we look at what that Protector brought on Volskaya, but Octalysis nonetheless coming out here with a very strong start in game number 2. It's working out well. It's just a matter of, do you have the same level of sustain when the bunker comes into play? That's always going to be the biggest thing. And then for Deckard, is it a matter, do you try and get the lockdown with the stay a while and listen? If not, I mean, the other thing to consider, we've seen it before, we could get APOC. It's not necessarily a thing, but if Deckard does go something like stay a while and listen, it does take a full second to channel. At that point, maybe a D shield gets off, and then it has to be canceled early because of the Genji coming at you. There's so many counterplays available at level 10. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out.
I don't expect this by any means, but I just love in a vacuum in my brain, like seeing the, here's the stay a while and listen, and then the counter is, here's the APOC circle on the ground, and then you just watch that Uther just trying to trek his way in. He's like, I got this Storm. Just wait, baby. Benediction stun 1, 2. Divine Storm, and that's a dead Deckard. We got ourselves 29 seconds from the bottom altar. It's just going to be a solo altar. Already anchoring off the rotation is Octalysis. We're yet to see what Genji will pick up. I would guess it's going to be a Dragon Blade. The only reason not to would be purely based on the bunker. But because they have Divine Shield, I personally like the trade-off. You can just get enough damage onto the bunker, threaten that out, and Dragon Blade Genji is going to just be way too threatening.
Well, here it comes. Dragon Blade was picked up. Everything else locked in. Endemic at level 10. They're going to try and deal with the Sappers. Justin getting some zoning. Uther already channeling. Bika trying to walk forward. This is actually a free channel. Cure unable to make position. He ended up getting caught behind enemy lines as the bunker goes down. Lornado coming out. Here comes the Lightning Breath.
Lightning Breath there. B-Kid trying to become barbecue there for a moment, but he's going to survive. The salvo gets dropped out. Warp out from Dansky now afterwards. Jet propulsion. And the response there on to Draded, but deflect there, and he survives. More shots picked up for Octalysis. And this is now the third, I believe, shrine in a row where we've seen just the early rotations of Octalysis and zoning off is enough for them to make it difficult for Endemic to move up and comfortably make it. So I feel like that has got to change. Endemic has to find a way to rotate early. And then there's a bigger thing. after the Sapper invade that I'll talk about that I'm concerned with here for Endemic as this game moves on.
Goku charging up. They're diving the back line. They instantly get on a Phoenix. There's going to be the swift strike through. That's going to be kill number 1. Goku trying to sit on the backside, but Octalysis, that was coordinated and pretty if you're an Octalysis fan.
It was a great setup there coming out from them. And as I was talking about before, what they do have as this game moves down the line, J-How, is that Divine Shield upgrade, level 20. That is one of the best late game securers for all of Towers of Doom. So even if the experience goes back to even, Octalysis is winning so heavily in core or experience on core HP that they can just put it in a position to where it's like, well, we'll just Divine Shield this game out.
Dreaded says, Justin, thank you very much. I'm going to get another kill. This is one of the reasons why you signed me to this roster. Thank you. The deletion there. As we see now the bot lane control definitely in favor, trying to keep a hold of that Raider. But yeah, you bring up such an excellent point. We've seen games end like that before. If you do establish that level of a lead, yeah, redemption, you don't need it.
It's not even like a once-in-a-while thing, right? Like, it's a big enough thing where when Towers of Doom first released, that was the first thing every European player was saying. It was like, have you played Sanctification Divine Shield on Towers? Because it might be a problem. Like, this has been, and it's been a go-to strategy from time to time throughout the European region whenever the Battleground ends up showing up here. So, surely has to be a concern. The best part about this strategy, or that strategy, is that you don't even have to do it. Divine Shield, more often than not, is your default go-to. And by the time you hit 20, you can just decide at that point in time, does this seem like a realistic choice?
Well, Octalysis has established another large lead here over Endemic. Mostly on the core health. They sit just over a level ahead of Endemic in terms of experience. Endemic trying to reclaim some of that by way of this top lane as they have Sappers. They know they're not getting bottom back anytime soon, but they will have to make the rotation down, Dread, because Sappers are starting to make their way towards the bottom against their core. And as those Sappers cross, that does do core damage. It looks like they're going to give that up. So
core damage for?
It's interesting.
We'll find out. Dansky taking a lot of damage there from Dreaded. Bit of crowd control thrown out there by B-Kid. Able to hit the stun. 3 shots make it into the core, leaving 10 remaining onto the core of Endemic. Still no 13 talents here available. They do make it out.
But every single time a Sapper goes through, that threat of the inevitable 20. I mean, 36 shots, it would take an epic collapse to not only lose a hero, but then lose multiple heroes and lose basically a 6 cap. It's almost impossible to make that up pre-20 if you're there for Endemic as Dreaded. He's playing with fire.
Yeah, that was a 1 versus 5 Swift Strike. Respect. He quickly noped out. But just to have that confidence, like, yeah, they won't point and click. They don't have this. Well done there by Dreaded. And now we got the triple altar phase.
Uther will show bot lane.
Yeah, that's going to pick up bottom. That's 5 shots. So top left, if Octalysis is able to pick it up, that's just game. 11 minutes in. Holy cow.
We're looking at if that is the case now. Octalysis sitting 1 channel away unless something crazy happens. Prismat and Team Dreaded. He's looking for a target. They're going to go in. Justin, he gets the stun. They do have bunker. Out comes the salvo from Endemic.
Divine Shield stops the interrupt, and that is Goku picking up the shots there. That is GG, ladies and gentlemen. 11 minutes in. Octalysis make the plays and tie up this series.
What is the record for fastest Towers games outside of my Sylph game?
I dislike you for that meme. And second of all, I actually don't know, but I'd be willing to argue that is definitely near the fastest that I feel
That's
like
crazy
we've seen.
fast. I mean, that is crazy fast. The D shield ended up coming. They just bought enough time. That's unprecedented, what we just saw.
One of the... I mean, a lot of that came down to Butts. We need to highlight that is pretty much he had to perfectly clutch that Divine Shield to make sure he times it as the damage was coming in. Last second, drops the Divine Shield. And then when the damage was removed, what happened was actually there was still an interrupt time, right? But that damage has to be in immediately after, like a Psy Storm underneath him, just waiting to get the tick. Nobody had really positioned proper to be able to make that happen. Clutch play from Buds, and all set up through a lot of the early game advantages in other areas. I thought they would have to wait to 20 to make that play. That's what I was talking about. The entirety of that 20 spike is how it extends it by 2 seconds, which makes that realistic. But heck, who needs 2 seconds? Not Octalysis.
That's insane. I'm still blown away by the fact of what Octalysis did. I mean, imagine if they finished game number 1. They finished that performance that they had started. This would be looking at, oh my goodness, this could be Octalysis, could be the most dominant team we've seen all weekend by going in and taking that outside of Endemic versus Team Freedom. It's a very weird thing to see Octalysis I don't want to say they threw, but they definitely could have closed out game number 1. But that level 2 game was insane.
Yeah, no, it is. It is wild. And even more so plays to this when looking at the big names of North America, some of the teams that have been more towards the top or we expect to be so, it's hard to gauge because we have game number 1 where it's like you can have that one slip up. Endemic shows sign of life to be able to get the punishment in and be able to recover that game. But then you watch that last one, you're like, that was an absolute just smashing on Towers of Doom. Like, it's wild. And I feel like any one of those teams can do it to any other part of those rosters.
You know what comes after game number 2?
Usually a game 3, but hey, you know, I'm simple.
We do it differently here at HGC. A commercial comes before game number 3. We'll be right back, and when we do come back, we will have this series continue.
Set me up,
you guys.
Man. You set me up.